Thank you for joining Sports Development Series. We yours truly, Boma, Ekiyor.
Sportsdev, hey, how's everyone going? It's been a while. Kind of got busy with a lot of football representation items, but wanted to record this. I'm back, so I had to do this. I was a diehard Super Eagles fan. Grew up on the game my entire life. Wanted to record and talk about what I saw today. What did I see today? I saw my cherished team lose to a Beninois side today that pretty much I think outperformed the Nigerian national team and won the game 2-1 World Cup qualifier. So they how did they play? They were compact, they were organized, they defended well, and every time they came forward, they were dangerous. And we being a Nigerian team, seemed more like a bunch of individuals running around on the field, trying to play individual games. They were not a team. They seemed disjointed. Now, if you go through social media or any of the other things that we typically review when these things happen, you're going to see a number of different reactions. Some people are going to call for, George Finidi, who's the coach, to be fired, after his second game in charge. But what they forget is this issue of not winning games in qualifying started with Pissarro. I don't think we've won a game in our group. And this was long before Finidi was hired. So it'd be, crazy to call for his head or blame him. Other things you'll hear is people complain about, the selection. Paulo Nuachi should not have started the first game. Why didn't he bring Victor Boniface on earlier? Why did he bring him in the second half? Everyone is going to be, an armchair coach after the performance about what should have happened or should not have happened and the reason why this loss, was incurred. But I look at it from a different picture. And this is something I've been saying on this platform for a while, for anyone that wants to listen. When we did have my man, shout out to Akpo Sakuro, when we had him on, we would always talk about this. And it was evident for anyone to see. I think, you look at things and you look at the performances, not just of the senior national team, but of the under 17, the under 20. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, let's analyze the full spectrum of the issue. Under 17 have not qualified for FIFA U17 tournament in, I would say, 4 or 5 years or longer. Under 20, same thing. The coaches they hire for these teams seem to be recycled. Guys who have coached before, maybe they failed, went into retirement, brought them out, right? And they failed again. The selection process for these youth teams it amounts to inviting or having an open camp where tons of people show up. Half of them, the coaches aren't even watching. Then they get to select a handful and they say, well, this is our team. So when you look at that, and then you look at the national team, and you look at the guys on the national team who were born and raised in Nigeria, nothing against the guys who were born and raised abroad. Mad respect and love for them as well. But the ones who were born and raised in Nigeria, if you look at their pedigree and where they came from, most of them played for these youth teams. Right? They went for youth international World Cups. They performed. They got signed by major clubs around the world, and then they ended up coming back to play. Right? A lot of the ones who played for the youth teams but didn't go abroad, you almost never hear from them again. And you have to ask yourself, why is that the case? Right? Youth talent not being leveraged, not being developed, which is part of the issue. The other part of the issue is coaching across the board. When you look at, a lot of these places where young players play, who are these people teaching these young players how to play football? What are they teaching them? What certifications do they have? How are they trained? What kind of athletes are they developing? Do they develop athletes? Do they know what they're doing in developing athletes? No one is asking these questions. No one is digging deep to find out the qualifications of the coaches. And the body that's in charge of this is the federation. I will pay anyone $200 if you could go on NFF's website today, find certifications on there that people can log on to get coaching certifications. There's a process online where they could get these certifications and they could turn around and use them, right, to go coach. If anyone could send me that link, if you're listening, I'll wire you $200. All right, I feel that confident because it doesn't exist. It's not there. So if you have a country with thousands and thousands of coaches, all claiming they're developing players, teaching people Lord knows what, you have no control over it. You have no control of the type of talent you're developing and the qualifications for anyone that wants to teach a player. Then how can you be sure that you have a system that's putting out the caliber of young talent that you need that eventually will come play for your national team? Because let's be honest, there is nowhere where you have coaches running around like the Wild West, not teaching anything. These guys that kind of play from Nigeria and just happen to find themselves in foreign clubs, they don't do it because of the system. They do it despite the system. So the system is almost in the way, but they do it anyways because they're just naturally talented. They're that gifted. But now, imagine if you had a system where a lot of these young guys were actually taught skills, developed their fundamentals. They grew into being sharp, very good players. Right? I was watching a game recently this weekend. I think it was Croatia against Portugal. And I just watching the Croatian team, I was so impressed. I mean, those guys are very technically sound, fundamentally sound. The passes, the way they played, it was a beauty to watch. Now, Croatia as a nation puts out tons of players. They were at the World Cup finals, 2 World Cups ago, right? And they don't have the population of the city I grew up in, which is Lagos. They don't. They don't have the Lagos weather. And they don't have as gifted athletes as the population of Lagos. I'm not even going to go into Nigeria. So if that exists and you have a body in charge of the game in that nation, but that body has failed in its responsibilities to create an environment where you're churning out the kind of coaches and players, then it's not a surprise that you have to rely consistently on guys who play in Europe, who just played I'm not making excuses for them, but they just played a very long season. You look at Boniface, you look at Lukman, long season. They played Europa, went to the finals, long season. So I'm not excusing anything, but there is a possibility that there was some fatigue involved in this loss or the draw against South Africa. Right? There is a possibility. I'm not saying that's the reason. Okay? But if the federation wants a solution to this problem, honestly, it needs to look in the mirror. It needs to ask itself, how are we developing the caliber of athletes out there that will end up playing in the league, which is a whole nother issue. And I don't even have time to get into that today. But that will end up playing in the league, right? End up featuring for the youth teams and end up playing for the Super Eagles. So you have the kind of guys who can perform and the depth you need in your squad to beat anyone at any time. Okay, this is very important. And then you also have the coaching pool to hire for the Super Eagles, so you don't have to pay foreigners or foreign coaches ridiculous amounts of money to do the same thing people in your country do. Right? There's nothing special about Pizarro when he was there. Nothing. Their coaches that can do that. But you have to create an environment that you have where the brightest minds in coaching could rise to the top. And you have to make sure your league gives them the opportunity to coach at a high level. And you have to take a look at the league system. How are they recruiting players? What's that system like? There has to be oversight to create an environment where the game can grow. If that game grows, then you eventually have the caliber of players that will end up on your national team. And even you'll have more players that will be exported around the world. I think Nigeria is ranked, number 9 or 10, according to Sears, in terms of exporting players today. These are things. So to all my Super Eagles fans out there, I share your pain. But before you start pointing the finger at Finidi, right, or the players, you need to ask yourself, what kind of federation do we have? That's all I have. Sportsdev, thank you so much. And hey, I'll find another topic to talk about soon. See you guys soon. Bye.